All right, good morning, Facebook. We're good. Let's get this thing going. Happy Thursday to you folks. Happy Thursday. Let's get it going. 1, 2, you know what to do. Yeah, oops. Happy Thursday to you folks. All right, we're here. Just reposting some stuff here, and we'll get it started in just a second. Give me a couple of minutes here and get started. All right, let's make sure we're good. Okay, good morning to you all, or good afternoon, depending on the time of day that you may be tuning into this. These recordings, by the way, I record them live Monday through Friday, no later than about 7:15 a.m. And they will also be on the Move Swiftly podcast as well. I've switched up that format a little bit just in case you guys, I know I'm an early riser, so figure I accommodate when it comes to when my viewership or when you guys may be listening and things like that. So first and foremost, let me introduce myself to anybody that may be new around here. My name, Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. What I do, what the whole Move Swiftly brand and the business is all about, is taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a staff, they have a group of employees, they have a group of people that has the efficiency, they have the productivity, they have the eagerness, they have the hunger, they have the ability of working together like a championship high school or youth football team. That's what we do over here in a nutshell. And today we are right in line with that, as we are every day. That's what we do here. We're consistent. Consistency is absolutely a must here. All right. This is how it has to happen. This is how it has to work. All right. Today we are talking, we are kind of putting a bow on the whole exceptional conversation. All right. For the whole week, dating even back to this past weekend, when I decide to come up with these topics, I usually decide to put to create a topic around this time during the week. It's either the Thursday or the Friday where I start thinking in my head, all right, what's going to be like the weekly theme and how I'm going to put it in the system and make it, so I have a weeks long things to talk about and put it in the way, and how furthermore, most importantly, is how is it I'm going to serve my clients. And again, my clients are those business owners, are those people who run these organizations that really want to build teams and really want to figure out ways to work together as a team. All right, that's pretty much where my mindset goes. So all week we've been talking about the exception to the rule. It started with the Make Your Move kickoff question. What makes you the exception? What makes you exceptional? Then Top 5 Tuesday was top 5 exceptional athletes. Yesterday, we were talking about the exceptional conference of the Big East, the Big East when it comes to basketball. And today, I'm going to take you down, it's going to be all about how to recognize when something is the exception. All right, how to recognize when something is the exception, because recognizing it, seeing it, taking it in, realizing that it's the exception, when you start to recognize these things, then you start to move in a very, very powerful way, because certain things are in place. You can trust certain people with certain abilities, and then you can move forward, and there's a peace of mind that comes when you've recognized someone as actually exceptional, and then you're able to move forward with that person because of the exceptional, the ability that you see for them to be exceptional. So again, if you're a little confused, I'll break all this down. I'll break all this down throughout the next hour or so, because I have a background. I'm a college scout by trade. All right. So what a college scout does, what I did as a college scout, is I went and I looked for athletes, I looked for players that really stuck out during the game. But I'm getting ahead of myself, as I do typically sometimes when I start talking about the topic. Before I get too into it, let me just get through a few announcements and then we'll get things going. First of all, West Palm Beach. If you are located in the West Palm Beach area and you're interested in free boxing lessons, be sure to contact me or go to freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. That's freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. I put them on every 2 weeks. And it's something that I will continue to do because again, speaking of trades and speaking of things that I've learning and teaching people how to box was a trade that I had learned that is something that's going to be carrying me throughout the rest of my life, something that I know how to do. Again, learning these trades, picking up on these skill sets, adding to your skill set is what we're all about. All right. And that brings me to announcement number 2. Business owners, if you have not yet, I need you to go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. I created a very, very easy to understand process, 10-step process in which you can be utilizing right now as we speak to make it so your business moves a whole lot more efficiently right now. Again, that's freeguide.makeyourmove.com, and tap into the patreon.com/as144. All of that is, let me pull it up here for the people that are viewing online. Just go to makeyourmove.com. All of this is available on makeyourmove.com, by the way, guys. So it's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. If you're watching this visually, you see you can shop, you can join the Patreon, you can book me to speak, or you can just learn more about As One Crookshank, or just listen to the number 1 podcast on innovative teamwork, the one that you may or may not be listening to this recording on, the Move Swiftly podcast. Brand new episodes come out every single day. That's what makes us number 1. That's what makes us number 1. All right, let's get right into what we're going to talk about today. First and foremost, the ability to recognize the exception. All right, recognizing the exception. This in some ways goes against what you are kind of programmed to learn. And I'm pulling up a definition for you guys. Trade. No. I want to make sure I pull up the definition of the trade. Yes, this is it. Perfect definition. Okay, I want to make sure I pulled up this definition for you guys because it's important for you guys to note and that we're on the same page. I pulled up for those of you who are listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast. I'll just tell you, I pulled up the definition of trade. All right, trade. What a trade is, and a trade under the context of jobs, careers, and what it is you're doing, right? So the definition number 2 that I'm reading out loud that I want to make sure is in your head as we move forward is that a trade Bear with me, guys. So basically what's happening, if you are listening, the reason, the pause is coming because what I've started to do, because I am making sure I'm looking at myself on multiples, I've actually started having my phone on while I am recording. So that way I know everything is straight. All right, 1 second. There we go. But I want to make sure I'm able to look at it. So I want to make sure I'm able to look at it while I'm recording. So that's what I'm doing right now. If you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast. So you're going to have to just bear with me for a second here. Why is the thing not showing up? All right, cool. There we go. All right, we're back. All right, why is the thing not showing up? All right, cool. All right, yeah, I have to make sure I'm doing that because I'm recording on multiple places, and we want to make sure we're spreading it out. All right, so where were we? A trade. I'm looking at the definition of trade, and it says a skilled job. This is big, again, for the acronym that I went over when it comes to Swiftly. The first S in Swiftly stands for skilled. Okay, stands for skilled. So when it comes to a trade, it's important that we note that. And jeez, hate technology, guys. I genuinely hate technology. If you haven't realized this yet, it is one of the most annoying things, but it is necessary. It's like I have a love-hate thing with technology. You love it when it's helping, but it really can get annoying when you got to deal with it and not just get into what it is you want to be doing, right? I'd rather be just speaking directly to you guys, but I gotta deal with what it is you want to be doing. All right, but it's a necessary evil, right? It's a necessary evil. It's just what you got to do sometimes. All right. We're good. We should have no more interruptions. We're good to go. Okay, so a skill job, typically one requiring manual skills and special training, a skill job. So when it comes to recognizing the exception, and when somebody's the exception to the rule, it first and foremost starts with understanding that there's such thing as a trade. There's such thing as a person that is skilled in doing this one thing, went to school to get better at this one thing, and that's how they make a living. That's how they develop. There's nothing wrong at all with doing that. It just is a matter of what I continue to discuss if we go further down the acronym of Swiftly, is that you can't just depend on that, because God forbid something happens and that skill is no longer made available to you, then you got a real problem. So while you always it's good to be making money off a skill or off a trade, but also the information that you have in your head and your ability to do multiple things allows you to have the security that you're going to need, right? So when it comes to as one, all right, the trade that I had, what I developed as a skill, was my ability to be a college scout. All right. When I say college scout, is when I first graduated from college, I immediately took a job as a scout, and basically my day-to-day, what my work would be was to go, and I didn't do this the way that the company wanted me doing it. So the name of the company was called National Scouting Report, and the way they wanted me doing it was the complete opposite way in which I ended up doing it, because they had it so where they're like a third-party agency, and they wanted me to do it in a way where I was going to be getting paid. There were going to be commissions and basically be selling dreams. Because if let's play it out their way. If I did it their way, they would have me go to a lot of club sports, a lot of club games, primarily female sports, because, a lot of the high schools don't offer, they don't get a lot of participation when it comes to female sports. So they would tell me to go to like club games, club tournaments where the parents are already paying a good grip of money just to get their athlete on this team, on this travel team, or whatever it is. So they would like travel sports, that was it, not club sports, but travel sports, travel teams. They would advise us to go to a lot of travel league games, particularly female sports, whether it's a travel league volleyball game, travel league softball, whatever it is, because of the amount of money that they already knew that the parents were paying to get them to that school or get them on that travel team. And then they would say, okay, you got to know those rosters and then try to target those specific players, all right, those specific athletes who are playing travel, and they would be able to afford NSR, and that was that was the acronym for the name, National Scouting Report. So we know that they can afford it. So then we offer the services to help them get into the college, yada yada yada. Then there's kind of a guarantee, or more of a way, more of a possibility of getting paid the commission that we were going to get paid for helping them find the school, which was, again, that's their business model. That's their business model, and that's fair because that's the way they want to run their business. But I was a brand new college graduate. I just graduated from Stony Brook University, and my goal was to actually be good. my goal was to actually know how to scout talent, know how to actually look at it and say, okay, that person's good enough, that person isn't good enough. And the way I wanted to do it versus the way they wanted to do it, it was not a good match. It was just a constant it was not going to work, because when you're talking about doing it their way, they're pretty much offering everybody the services versus my way, where I'm going. I don't know anything about the kids. I don't know anything about the parents. I don't know anything about the sport. I don't know anything at all. I'm just going and watching games, and I'm seeing who's good enough to play. And in many times, I went, I didn't like, so I'd go to a girls volleyball game, or one time I would go to a girls volleyball game. I didn't know much about the sport, didn't know much about the school, didn't know anything. And I just sit back and watch and take notes. And this is when I knew I was able to do it, is I would watch a player, see how good she is, and then immediately say, yeah, that's someone that should be playing in college. And then I'd look that girl up, and it turns out that she's being like one of the top recruits, and someone's already on her. You know what I'm saying? That is the way it should work, because you're developing that. I get that I won't get the commission, but when it comes to what my goal was for the company, it was about developing the eye for talent. And that trade, right? That trade that we talked about, the skill has carried me, has been something that I have to this very day. All right. That's what I mean when I say understanding the importance of a trade. One of my favorite authors, Malcolm Gladwell, author of Outliers, What the Dog Saw, David and Goliath. So many great books. Blink, he's easily one of my favorite authors. He would talk about how everybody in life needs to be an anthropologist. Everybody needs to be an anthropologist. And what happens is you go to these schools, you go to some university, some college, and they give you a bunch of options. They give you some general education degree, and they tell you, okay, now you're successful because you have this education or whatever degree you have, and you haven't really focused in on something that's going to develop your skill. To focus in, develop a trade, and then have the information around. Again, I'm not here just shitting on the college system, but I am telling you, you as a person, the same way I told you yesterday, you as a person, you need to more so take advantage of the college system, and don't let the college system take advantage of you, because that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to take your money, and you're not going to know what to do when you're done, because you've gotten so used to just being in school, just going to class, thinking that that's going to solve all your problems. So that was my experience as a college scout, and that's what led to a lot of the work I'm doing now. But what I want to talk to you guys today about is how you can translate that into your business, and how you can start seeing that in your job interviews, how you can start seeing that with the people that come in to your company, how you can start seeing that when it comes to you really understanding your goal of the company, your overall mission of the company, and then who is the person what are they seeing? What is something new that they're seeing, that you're seeing in them, that makes it so, all right, look, that's a person I want to move forward with. Let me give you, I got a couple stories. I got a couple stories here when it comes to how to recognize this. And it can happen in a very, very small way. It can happen at a moment's notice, which is why you as an owner, you as a business owner, you have to be on high alert. All right, hear me. You got to be on high alert, and you got to be constantly recognizing, constantly looking for things in people that'll make it so you want to move forward with them, or you want to give them more responsibility. You want to be the one to have a conversation. You want them leading the charge. It's nothing to do with their degrees, nothing to do with what they can put on a resume, and everything to do with the action they take when something goes wrong, the action that they take when something goes wrong, or the action that they take when they're faced with some adversity. In fact, I'll give you another example when it comes to the football world. I was reading, let me see if I can pull it up real quick for the viewers. If you are listening to this on the podcast, yes, this is Tom Callahan, The GM by Tom Callahan. All right, I'm gonna pull it up right here. The GM by Tom Callahan. I remember reading this book. This book is a book basically talking about Ernie Accorsi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ernie Accorsi, where he wrote Johnny U. He wrote a book about Muhammad Ali, but the one I read is this one, The GM, right? And he it's the GM, the final, let me see real quick. The final season. Yeah, I remember it. It's crazy because I remember to tell you. A Football Life. Yeah. The GM by Tom Callahan, A Football Life. A final season and a last laugh. That's the new. Oh, they have a new chapter. Wait, I read the one before that new chapter. It was the one before that new chapter. Hold on one second. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Oh, they have a new one. Okay, I don't know about that one. The GM by Tom. Let me see something. Yeah, so he had the one. So there's two. Hold up. Oh man, I'm not even realizing there's two. So he put another one out. Okay, I gotta get that. So there was 107, one. Okay, see, there we go. I just discovered something. Yeah, so this is the one I actually read. The one that is a dream job. So the GM, the inside story of a dream job and the nightmares that go with it. In the summer of 2006, NFL's senior general manager Ernie Exori invited Tom Callahan inside the Giants organization to experience a season. So his last from the front office, the locker room, the sidelines, the tunnel. Tom made no promises and said that he'd bring to the project the same fairness and thoroughness that characterized his acclaimed Unitas biography, Johnny U. The result is a remarkable book that at once a chronicle of a tumultuous season and the story of the NFL. Yep. Yeah. So this was the book. For those of you, again, if you are listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, and these episodes, these live streams now come on the Move Swiftly podcast later on in the afternoon, I basically pulled up a book that I read a couple years ago titled The GM by Tom Callahan. And he talked about the difficulties, as you can see in the subtitle, the inside story of the dream job and all of the nightmares that come with it. He is talking about the issues that came with being the general manager for the New York Giants. And if you look at the cover had Eli Manning on it. And if you could recall, that was the year in which Eli Manning, had already put it out in the draft saying, look, I ain't going to San Diego. And then San Diego drafts him. And there's all sorts of drama in terms of getting him to New York and yada, yada, yada. Bunch of drama, which is why, again, the NFL draft is something that I have spoken out against in many, many ways. And I'll probably do more of that, seeing that we're a couple of weeks away from the NFL draft. But anyway, as I was thinking of this title, I put out this title, and I was thinking of some of the things that I was going to talk about in regards to recognizing the exception. There was also another name that was mentioned in that book, and that name is a guy named Jeremy Shockey. And I'm pulling him up as I, bring up this story that was told in this book. All right, Jeremy Shockey was at one point he was the face of the New York Giants. At one point, Jeremy Shockey was like the guy, the guy that everyone looked at as he's him, New York Giants, Jeremy Shockey. If I'm not mistaken, no, I had Michael Strahan. I had a Michael Strahan jersey, but there were a lot of Giants fans that would wear the Jeremy Shockey jersey because he was kind of the face of the franchise at one point, and he came out of the U, the U, Miami. So you already know when it comes to the U and the way they are and stuff like that. He was the one before Greg Olsen. So people used to call him, one of the better, like Greg Olsen was the one after him. It was like him, Greg Olsen, when it came to those University of Miami tight ends and things like that. And this was back when, the University of Miami was very relevant when it came to, college football and things like that. Not that they're terrible now, but, again, this was a different time, right? So anyway, they were telling the story. They were telling the story in the book, The GM, and apparently Jeremy Shockey had got into. So he comes in his rookie year. And apparently there was some lunch or something that happened at lunch where somebody tried to take his food and do something. And Jeremy Shockey snapped on him. Like, he snapped on him. You ain't touching my food. You ain't doing it. Like, he actually stood up for himself and stuff like that. And again, the book is written from the GM's perspective, from the scout's perspective. And he was like, look, when he saw Jeremy Shockey stand up for himself and say, look, you're not taking my lunch or whatever it was, he was like, oh my God, we have a franchise player. And that's what I mean. He started to see the exception, because you normally don't see rookies come in, especially into a locker room like the New York Giants or an NFL locker room, and start sticking up for themselves and standing up and saying, look, you're not going to be bullying me around. You ain't going to be, I'm coming in here to actually do what it is I need to do to be great. That is what I mean when I say recognizing the exception. And if you do that, I'm telling you right now, if you do that, I want to here's how we translate that into, because again, I get, you know, the people who tune into this world or tune into my work aren't really in the football world per se, and they're in a place where they're trying to get that staff, they're trying to get people to be as motivated and be as hungry in regards to what it is they do every day. And I'm telling you, it's important that you really spend some time observing. Okay, spend a great deal of time observing how a person is. All right, how a person is, and are they forming cliques? I think the biggest question that you can ask yourself is, when you hire someone new or you bring someone in on your staff, is, are they more interested in being a part of a clique, or are they really, really interested in doing a damn good job and doing what it is they have to do? I'll give you an example in my own life. So it was back when I worked at Washington Sports Club, and this is a gym in South Bethesda, Maryland. I was 19 years old when I took this job, and regular listeners, you guys have heard me talk about Washington Sports Club, my time there, that year that I spent there, quite a bit. But I've never actually told this particular story that I'm getting ready to tell, and I have a lot of them. Believe it or not, there's a lot that I haven't even gotten to in terms of all of the things that I saw throughout that year. But when I first started working there, in fact, it was my orientation to Washington Sports Club. So they made me go all the way to, I think it was like a Columbia Heights location, and you have to get certain, you have to like have the orientation, because, you know, the bigger company is called Town Sports International. Town Sports International has Washington Sports Club, Boston Sports Club, Washington Sports Club, which is where I worked, and then Boston Sports Club. So all four of them, they had all four of them, right? So anyway, I go to the orientation to get certified, or to make it so I'm eligible to work, or whatever it was. You just had to do it before you actually started your hours or started work and things like that. And one of the people that was at that same orientation actually ended up being my boss. Like, he was the assistant manager. He got hired as an assistant manager at the same time I got hired as an associate. So I didn't know that's who it was, but we saw each other at the orientation, and we kind of just locked eyes. His name was Chris, by the way. And Chris was, he was brand new to the area. He was from South Carolina. He was, again, the reason he was in this assistant manager's role is because now, you know, he has an opportunity to build a career, make a good living. He has a daughter. I believe at the time he was living through a separation. If I'm not mistaken, it was either they were together, they weren't. I know the ladies in the gym used to throw it at him. He had a couple little honeys that would come to the gym, threw him a little text and all that. So he would be telling me about some of the little moves he was making. You know, that's life in the fitness industry, by the way. You know, there's a lot of women that come in, and, you know, we as people that work in the fitness industry, you're gonna meet someone, and, you know, things gonna pop off or whatever. So anyway, he was in that place, you know, I guess playing the field, whatever it was. But anyway, it wasn't until we started work that week, like we both started work that week, where we recognized, so we're after the orientation, we start work that week. It was either that week or a little later on, where we see each other at the gym where we're at the location in which we're going to be working at. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, the guy from the orientation. Yeah, good. Nice to actually see you. Nice to actually meet you," because we didn't actually speak at the orientation, but we did see each other, right? So because Chris was hired, and Chris was, you know, I think he was former military. He was former military, and he had like a real like maniacal approach, like really detailed. Got to do this. Got to do this. Shirt got to be tucked in. Got to clean up this. Got to do this. Like, his whole mentality was like, yo, and especially because this is his livelihood at this point. At that point, I knew he had a daughter to feed. His daughter was getting older. And like I said, I don't know what was going on with the mother, but I know he specifically had to make sure that shit was straight in the gym, and that if, you know, people needed coverage, if there was complaints, there was one time, oh my God, listen, there was one time I showed up to the gym because I work there, because I get to work out there. That was one of the motivating factors. I was rehabbing a torn ACL. So I showed up and the front desk associate overslept. The person who was supposed to be working that shift, they overslept. And I didn't have my key yet. So I walk in, I go to work out, and I'm standing outside with all the members like, we can't get in because the front desk associate didn't wake her ass up and join the open up the gym or whatever. So I had to call the manager and say, yo, so and so didn't open up the gym. This, that, that. All sorts of drama. Again, I'm not going to go too deep into the weeds of the drama when it comes to that particular experience because I can talk for hours upon hours on that. Here's what I want to say, and here's why it took me quite a bit to kind of get you to this point when it comes to recognizing the exception, is there was a period after I'd say about a month in which Chris and I were talking and he comes to me. It felt planned. It felt like it was something that he wanted to say to me, but he just never had the opportunity to. But eventually he did express it. He goes, Aswan, you were one of the guys that I wanted to approach at some point because, you have a professional tone with you and you're also, very personable, but you're able, it doesn't look like you're interested in developing any clicks. It doesn't look like you're here just making money. And I wasn't. The energy I was giving off was I'm here because I want to use a gym in which I could rehab my knee and go back and play football at Stony Brook, which is the reason that the job was so ideal at that point. And he approaches me and says, I want you to start taking more of a leadership role. I want you to start doing things. I want you to start, making it so you are holding other folks accountable. And that you are the one that's, basically making sure that front desk is not feeling like, oh, they're just, working the front desk and they're just here to it's just a little part-time job for them. They need to, everyone in this entire organization needs to feel like they are playing a big role in the company. All right. And that thought, just him having that conversation actually turned out to be very, very beneficial to me because when I spoke to like the trainers and the sales associates, the people that were making six figures at this gym, like, making a good living at this gym, they were explaining to me how my role as the front desk associate plays a huge part in terms of how the gym is set up. Understand what brings people into a gym. Understand what makes people want to walk into a gym. Most of the time it's a breakup. Most of the time it's them wanting to lose weight. Their spouses aren't looking at them the way they used to look at them. They're getting too big. They just broke up, or many times they're dealing with a domestic abuse situation. Whatever it is, it's usually a negative thing. It's usually a bad reason. It's usually something that's bothering them and they want to get their mind off it. So they come into a gym regularly to get their headspace clear. And I am the first and last person that they see when they come in and out of the gym. So it was so imperative. It was so important. It was so absolutely beneficial for people to come in and for me to develop the same energy that I'm giving you guys right now when I'm able to just speak to you directly in the lives. Is they come in and it's like, hey, nice to see you. What you working on today? What class are you taking? What are you doing yoga? How is the reps going? Are you just doing shoulder stage? You're gonna do some cardio. All of these great questions that gives them the energy that they need because whatever brought them in the gym was something that most likely was negative. And then they do their workout. And as they leave, the question is, how was the workout? Did it get done? Did you accomplish those miles? Did you hit that milestone? Did you enjoy the yoga class? Did you enjoy the Zumba? Did you enjoy this? Whatever it was. And that keeps them coming back. You don't recognize that as such a big thing. But when it developed, as I developed my ability to communicate and the way I communicate now, all of it started right there. And then when you answer the phones and then when you interact with people, and let's say I do a walk around in the club and I'm seeing the people that I just checked in and they're saying, hey, what's up? How you doing? And then me personally, I used it. I used the actual gym. I was there working out. So you would always see some of the members say, oh man, he works out too. Oh man, he works out too. He does that too. And then I'll close you out with this story because it was for all I know, Boubacar was the sales associate, and me and him would have these conversations ongoing, like endless conversations about this type of stuff. And he said this to me, and I think I said it like when I first started this podcast, and it's worth repeating. So He said, look, as one, there's two ways. There's two things that can happen for you, right? You can use this opportunity. Now, I was making $7 an hour, $7.15 an hour. And he goes, that don't matter, because he goes, you could use this opportunity one of two ways. People can see you outside of this gym and they could say, oh, that's As One from the gym. Hi, how you doing? Or that's one. Or they can see you and say, "Oh, that's As One from the gym. How you doing? Is that third?" And just engaging you in conversation. That's how you build things. That's how you make sure you attract people. That's how you develop your ability to communicate and recognize. And again, this is all relevant because when you recognize that uniqueness and that specialness in people, you now can get associated with them. You now can, work with them. You now can pick their brain. You now can say, all right, that person is someone that you need to hold on to. That person is somebody you can appreciate. That person is someone that is actually on your looking out for you in ways that you're not even able to look out for yourself. When you get a group of people like that around you, there's absolutely no seal. I mean, listen, the amount of things that you can accomplish with that mentality and have that mentality amongst a group of people, then you can talk about some major wins. So it's about recognizing it. And first of all, again, being observant. Think about everything from, if you just want to go back on what I said about Chris, me and Chris at the orientation, we're there on time, focusing, making sure we're taking notes, making sure there's a certain thing that we're doing together, and then boom, we see each other, shake hands. And then as certain things come up, like that day, let me tell you, that day in which the other front desk girl, she overslept and she didn't open up the gym. That day, he had to answer to a lot of angry members, obviously, because we finally got it open. And I wasn't even planning on working. I was planning on working out, but I ended up having to work the front desk. And then as the members were finishing their workout, he had to deal with a lot of angry members, and he had to, again, hey, you got to take it, because now you wearing that hat in which you're the leader. And what's important is that you simply took it. And when he recognized, look, I'm dealing with this person showed up, then recognizing that, then we had that conversation, and then things were moved forward the right way after that. Now, unfortunately, that situation didn't turn out well, because Chris was like the assistant manager, and then they brought in a brand new manager, and him and Chris kind of butt heads and all that, and he ended up getting fired, which I thought was just bullshit. And it taught me a lot about the fitness industry in general, in terms of, you better be the person that's selling something, so that way you don't get screwed over, because that's really what happened with Chris. There was, he was working hours, just pulling some crazy hours, and for him to have gotten fired over, I believe there was like checks or something so ridiculous. Yeah, it's coming back now, because I think there were some checks that he had that were WSC related or something like that. But I was talking to like other people, like, there's no way that a person can steal. There's no way of proving that the checks would be his and stuff like that. And when I called him after he had gotten let go, and he mentioned the name of the new manager, and he said, so-and-so threw me under the bus when it came to that. So now I'm out of a job. And at this point, he's dealing with a separation. He has a daughter to raise. He did eventually get another job. I think he did something like doing paint or something. It was like a sporting goods situation. But when I talked to him, like after he got let go, it was really eye-opening, really something that, on my heart of hearts, made it so I have to do, like, I could not stay quiet about this stuff, because the kinds of things that go on, the shady bullshit that goes on when it comes to the way managers are, a lot of managers, there's so much unethical bullshit out there that they really don't care what a person's going through, what a person may have going on in their personal life. When they feel threatened by you, and you do something, or you do something to breach their comfort zone, people will throw you under the bus. It will happen. It will absolutely happen. And again and again, this is why today's topic is what today's topic is. When you recognize the exception, it's also important that you recognize the exception when it comes to your leadership, when it comes to your situation and the people that have control over how you're going to get your money, right? Have control over how you're going to get to your back. When you see something in them in which is not a acceptable from your standards. So first of all, you have to have some standards for your damn self, all right? You have to have a level of, look, whatever opportunity I have, I could be working at a damn gas station. I'm still going to take portions of this check, put it towards this dream, put it towards this goal, whatever. You gotta have the ambition in your own head, or the standards in your own head, that when you run into a leader or someone that can, potentially give you an opportunity, you got to also recognize, hey, that person is going to take me to this angle or to this place, but no further, right? No further, because you've been able to recognize. And that's another one of my superpowers, is when it comes to leadership and recognizing leadership. I know there's a huge difference, and I can smell it on a person from the first 5 seconds of them opening up their mouth. There's a huge difference between someone who's a leader and someone who is simply a manager. All right, it's simply a manager. A manager is simply going to do a certain thing and just try to protect their own ass. Period. Point blank. End of sentence. The only thing they're going to do is what the company tells them to do, whatever the higher ups, upper management, whatever they're telling them to do, whatever's going to get into whatever's going to give them or keep them in a secure paycheck. That's all they're going to do. A leader is going to get muddy with you. A leader is going to absolutely show you the way and lead by example. All right. Another thing that you got to recognize, again, as you're speaking, whether it's investments or whether you're talking a person that's actually just looking for a job and you're being interviewed by someone, you got to recognize the difference between that coach, that manager, that whoever that's actually going to be a leader versus that coach, that manager, whoever is just going to manage and just tell you what to do and point this and point that. When you recognize that as well, then you start taking what I like to call initiative. Initiative, folks. Take initiative. I'm going to close you out with this. Because when it comes to me, I pride myself on being a leader, not just a manager. So when you hear me talk as frequently as I do, and the amount of stuff that I'm doing and I'm working towards, and everything, everything I'm doing, I know, like I was telling you, I believe it was last week, I was telling you, in terms of where my ideal position would be to be a play-by-play announcer for college football. Instead of me just sitting around talking about that, you see what you see on the screen. You see what you see every single Saturday, film session Saturday, right here. You see me breaking down games, showing that I have what it takes to do it. And it's not me just simply talking about it. That's the key, folks. That's the key. It's one thing to lead or to run around talking about what you do. It's a completely different thing when you actually put the work out, you have the proof, and you simply just go after your opportunities day in and day out. That takes initiative. That takes you grinding. That takes you locking in. That takes you deciding, I don't give a shit who it is. No one's going to get in the way of my success. No one's going to get in the way of my future. And that's when you love it. You love it. You have got to live through these things. And when you recognize the exception, starts carrying over into every facet of your life. But it has to start with you. It has to start with what's going on in your own heart, in your own mind. And are you fucking listening to it? Are you listening to it and actually following through with the steps that you're making? Because if you're not, the people that do matter, the people that can help you get to wherever it is you're trying to get to, the people that can help you avoid some of the troubles that are going on in your own head or some of your fears, if you don't let it out and speak about it, then you can't realistically think that your problems are going to go away. But if you just sit back, but if you actually take the initiative and say, hey, I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to try to do that, whether it fails or whether it doesn't work or however long it takes, I'm just simply going to do it. I'm simply going to do it and see what happens. You start to see results. And with those results, you take the data and then you apply it to the next phase and 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 the next phase. And that's how you move forward. That's it. That is plain and simple. We're dropping the mic with that one today. All right. Recognize the exception. Hold on, let me get some water because I done went on a rant. Woo! All right. come back. When you recognize the exception, when you recognize the exception, and you have developed the habit of doing it, you will not ever be in a situation where you're down. Listen, you're gonna have your days, you're gonna have some rough moments, but there's no way you're going to stay down for any extended period of time, because in your own head, in your own heart, everything that you move, the way that you're moving, is just like a system. And in fact, let me write this down, because I think systems and collaborations. I've been kicking around what I'm going to talk about next week, and I think systems and collaborations is going to be it's going to be a big topic, because a lot of the things going on this week between systems and collaborations, I'm kind of kicking around the idea of talking about that, or how I'm going to address that, because a lot of what I spoke about this week, being the exception and recognizing exceptions and things of that nature, the systems and the collaborations, man, if you recognize the exceptions and then you have a system with some sort of collaborative process, it is just an unbelievable place to be. So as I close you out, I want to just, again, reiterate, first and foremost, recognizing and realizing the importance of having a trade, developing a trade, understanding what a trade is, having a skill to do something, being skilled at something, and then building information, learning things along the way where you're good at that thing. Again, myself, my trade was that of a college scout, where I had to be observant, where I had to go look at games. I had to go, really figure out who had what it takes to play at the collegiate level. And learning that trade allowed me to develop enough information in which I can be observant enough. I could recognize when something is going on. I could recognize certain people. I could recognize certain traits in people. I could recognize a lot of different things. And when you learn that trade and you have information upon that trade, then you can start to really recognize the people that are for you, recognize the people that you need to have in your life, the folks that you really want to keep around, and the ones that really deserve your time and attention. All right. So all that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into everything I'm doing, it's makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. Business owners, especially organizations that have a philanthropic mission, organizations that are very much, let me move this banner over, organizations that are very philanthropic in their mission, that are constantly trying to gauge the community, make it so, the young people, the younger generations are having positive experiences, which is bigger than you realize. And, having an organization that is really rooted in the positive experience for young people and their parents, having those types of organizations, you need to develop this system. You need to get in touch with me so we can work together and we can establish something really great, because that positive experience, you have absolutely no idea the amount of great things it can be doing for a family and what that kid can become when they actually go about doing it. I'm in something right now, with the teach at the school named the Center for Creative Education. And we have a group of visitors from the UK that came in because they read something online and they made the trip, and we're doing it's an incredible thing that I personally don't even have the ability to put into words. So anyway, all that being said, main website, it's makeyourmove.com. If you're looking at this on the screen, it's right here, makeyourmove.com. For anybody else that is listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, I will repeat, makeyourmove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.